Some photos are worth more than 1,000 words, especially when they send chills down your spine. Throughout history, eerie and unexplained images have captured moments so terrifying that they continue to haunt us today. From ghostly figures and nuclear shadows to abandoned places frozen in time, these unsettling photographs make us question reality. Were they pure coincidences? Or is there something truly sinister behind them? Get ready, because in this video, we're diving into 12 of the most terrifying photos ever taken, each with a story that will leave you shocked and speechless. Let's begin. 1. The Hiroshima Shadow. Imagine being so close to a nuclear explosion that your body disappears, but your shadow remains. When the atomic bomb was dropped on Hiroshima in 1945, it incinerated everything instantly, including people. What remained were scary death shadows imprinted onto stone and concrete surfaces. One such shadow belonged to a man sitting outside the Sumitomo Bank, forever frozen in time. It's a haunting reminder of the power of nuclear devastation. Seeing this ghostly imprint makes you realize the horrifying reality of what happened in mere seconds. A tragedy that altered history and left behind eerie, silent echoes of lost lives. But Hiroshima wasn't the only place where death left a scary mark. The Victorians had their own way of preserving lost loved ones, and it's equally unsettling. 2. Post-mortem Victorian photography. Imagine flipping through a family album and stumbling upon a photograph where only one person is perfectly still because they're dead. In Victorian England, post-mortem photography was common. Families took photos with their deceased loved ones as a final keepsake. Some were positioned to look alive, sometimes with their eyes propped open or standing with hidden supports. At a glance, these portraits seem normal, but the unsettling stillness of the dead compared to the living is enough to make your skin crawl. These images serve as a reminder of how fragile life was in those times. Now, let's move from terrifying old photographs to something even more disturbing. A town built to be destroyed. 3. The Mannequin Doom Towns. Ever seen a fake town filled with creepy, lifeless mannequins? In the 1950s, the US government built doom towns in the Nevada desert to test nuclear bombs. These towns had everything: houses, cars, and mannequins, dressed like real people, sitting at dinner tables or watching TV. Then, a bomb would drop, obliterating everything in an instant. The aftermath photos are horrifying. Burned out buildings, melted faces on mannequins, and frozen scenes of fake families moments before nuclear destruction. It's an eerie sight, knowing these people were used to measure how a nuclear attack would affect real cities. But what if the mannequins were replaced with something even creepier? Next up, we visit an island filled with hundreds of rotting dolls, and a terrifying legend behind them. 4. The Island of Dolls. Deep in the canals of Xochimilco, Mexico, lies an island straight out of a nightmare. The Island of Dolls is covered in hundreds of decaying, mutilated dolls, hanging from trees and scattered across the ground. It all started when a man named Don Julian found a drowned girl in the canal and believed her spirit haunted the island. To appease her, he began hanging dolls everywhere. The scariest part? Many visitors claim the dolls whisper, blink, or move on their own. Whether real or just a mere coincidence, this abandoned doll graveyard is one of the creepiest places on Earth. Speaking of spirits, one church in England has a ghostly visitor that was captured on film. 5. The spectre of Newby Church. Ghost photos are usually blurry, questionable images, but the spectre of Newby Church is chillingly clear. In 1963, Reverend K.F. Lord took a picture inside Newby Church in England. When developed, a tall, hooded figure with a distorted face appeared in the image. Unlike most ghostly figures, this one wasn't a vague mist. It was fully formed, standing as if watching the photographer. Skeptics call it a double exposure, but believers argue its transparent yet detailed appearance is too perfect. Real or not, the image is undeniably scary, making you wonder if something supernatural was truly present that day. But the spectre of Newby Church isn't the only ghostly presence caught on film. Decades earlier, another eerie figure appeared in a photograph. This time, in a grand old library, sitting exactly where he sat in life. Was it a trick of the camera or something far more chilling? 6. Combermere Abbey's ghostly visitor. In 1891, Sybil Corbet took a long exposure photograph of the library at Combermere Abbey. The room was empty, yet, when the photo developed, a faint figure was sitting in Lord Combermere's favourite chair. The creepy part? Lord Combermere had died miles away at the exact time the photo was taken. Was it his ghost returning for one last moment in his beloved library? The faded figure is clear enough to see legs and an arm, making it one of history's most compelling ghost photographs. Skeptics argue exposure errors, but the timing makes it all the more chilling. Ghostly visitors aren't the only unsettling sights that history has left behind. Some structures were built with a terrifying purpose, like an entire church made of human bones. 7. The Capela dos Ossos, Chapel of Bones. A church decorated entirely with human bones sounds like something out of a horror movie. But in Portugal's Capela dos Ossos, it's real. The walls, ceilings, and pillars of this 16th century chapel are made from the bones of nearly 5,000 people. The monks who built it wanted to remind visitors of their mortality, even placing a sign at the entrance that reads, "We bones that are here, for yours we wait." If that's not creepy enough, inside, 2 desiccated corpses, including a child, hang from chains. Standing in that terrifying silence, surrounded by skulls, is enough to make anyone uneasy. But not all horrifying places are ancient. In modern times, some markets sell things straight out of a nightmare, like the largest voodoo market in the world. 8. The Akadesua Fetish Market. The Akadesua Fetish Market in Togo is the largest voodoo market in the world, but its shelves look like something straight out of a nightmare. Here you'll find monkey heads, human skulls, dried snakes, and preserved animal carcasses, all used for spiritual rituals. While voodoo is a misunderstood religion, the market's creepy appearance makes it look more like a horror movie set than a spiritual hub. Whether you believe in the supernatural or not, walking through rows of preserved body parts and ritual objects is an unsettling experience that lingers long after you leave. But sometimes, the most terrifying images don't come from spiritual beliefs. They come from the monsters living among us. And one of the most disturbing reminders of that is the reconstruction of John Wayne Gacy's victims. 9. John Wayne Gacy's victims' reconstructions. In 1980, forensic artists reconstructed the faces of 9 unidentified victims of serial killer John Wayne Gacy. Their clay models were eerily lifelike, staring blankly ahead, waiting for someone to recognize them. Knowing that these faces belong to real people, young men brutally murdered by the infamous killer clown, adds another layer of horror. These haunting images remind us of the terrifying reality of human monsters who walk among us, and the unanswered questions of victims who may never be identified. While John Wayne Gacy's victims serve as a terrifying reminder of human monsters, some horrors are invisible, yet just as deadly. One abandoned kindergarten in Chernobyl holds a chilling image of innocence lost, forever frozen in time. 10. The Chernobyl Kindergarten Doll. One of the most chilling images from Chernobyl's abandoned ghost town is a lone doll, its face cracked, sitting in a decaying kindergarten. After the nuclear disaster, Pripyat was evacuated overnight, leaving behind toys, clothes, and remnants of abandoned lives. The ghostly silence of the ruined town, paired with unsettling reminders of a once thriving community, creates an overwhelming sense of loss and unease. This doll, sitting forgotten in a dusty chair, is a heartbreaking symbol of a childhood interrupted by an invisible horror, radiation that will linger for thousands of years. But Chernobyl wasn't the first time a disaster turned a city into ruins. Another catastrophic event left behind one of the most haunting images in American history, the devastation of San Francisco in 1906. 11. The San Francisco Earthquake Aftermath. The 1906 San Francisco earthquake devastated the city, and photographs of the aftermath still send chills down spines. One particularly haunting image shows a row of Victorian homes, eerily tilted and broken, as if a giant hand swept them aside. the sheer destruction is unsettling. But it's the emptiness, abandoned streets, lifeless ruins that makes it even creepier. Seeing everyday buildings distorted by an uncontrollable force is a stark reminder of nature's terrifying power. But while the ground can betray us, so can the sea. In 2011, a massive tsunami sent a ghostly reminder of its destruction floating across the Pacific. 12. Tsunami Ghost Ship. In 2011, after a tsunami struck Japan, a massive fishing vessel was swept into the sea, becoming a ghost ship floating without a crew. For a year, it drifted aimlessly across the Pacific, a silent, abandoned remnant of the disaster. When the US Coast Guard finally sank it, a plume of smoke marked the ship's final demise. This haunting image of a vessel lost at sea, disconnected from its home, symbolizes the devastation that changed thousands of lives in an instant. And that's it for some of the most terrifying photos ever captured. From haunted locations to eerie historical tragedies, these images remind us that reality can be just as chilling as fiction. Whether you believe in ghosts, mysteries, or just strange coincidences, these photos continue to spark fear and fascination. Which one creeped you out the most? Let us know in the comments. We'll see you in the next one.